Hey everyone, greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Fervor Review. Today let's talk about how I feel about books versus audiobooks. And just so you know, I'm not going to talk about Kindles because I think that's more in the book category. You're like reading lines and words on a page like thing. So we're not even going to go there. Okay? So just had to point that out. But let's get into it. So, I really do prefer to read books. I think books are fascinating. I've always loved going to the library as a child. I've always been just fascinated with the covers and the pages and the stories within them. I love going to bookstores. Like, there's just something really, I don't know, it just like captures me just being in those spaces, and I love reading. I mean, look at all the books on this shelf. You can only see part of it, but I just have a book problem and I like to read them mostly. And but overall I've realized that reading books, paper books, is just a harder thing for most people. Now, I don't mean to assume this for everybody. I think some people are just very better engaged with reading, and able to concentrate and focus a lot easier than other people. And it is like a skill. Like I do believe reading books on paper is more of a skill set. It's hard to concentrate, it's hard to focus, and you kind of have to get over the hump. Some books take 50, maybe 100 pages, couple of chapters to really get into what the story is. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just can't. I think it's okay, and I give you the permission. If you do not like a story and you keep trying to read it, pick it up, maybe you forget about it after a while, you restart it, try to read it, just can't get engaged. I think it's okay to just like accept this is not the book for you. And the problem is when you're reading a book that you don't enjoy, it can sometimes stop you from reading. And that's definitely done that to myself, where I read a book, I just couldn't engage with it, and then I just kind of stopped reading for a while. And it's sad. So it's a hard challenge, but there is something with reading books that's like this challenge, and it's this discipline. But I highly encourage it. It's so great for your brain, for your memory, for probably your brain health overall. I don't know. I'm speaking out of school here, but I just think that there's so much really beautiful things of it. Definitely, I remember more things that I've read than what I've listened to. And there's what I really do love about books too is just sometimes you're reading some really dense things and you just need to step away, process what it is that you just read, and to actually just even that helps you like engage more with the book. There's some, like, I know Bret Easton Ellis has talked a lot about it on my podcast because that's just like my favorite. But there's something about reading American Psycho, like when you read the girls chapter, you have to take a deep breath. You have to like mentally prepare, like, okay, I'm about to read a horrible thing. And then you read the horrible pet chapter, and then you need to go and take a break. And I don't know if you need to process what you just read, but you just need to like do something else to forget what you just read because it's so intense. But like, I love that the excitement and the what is like erupting in you, the engagement, the I don't know, the uncomfortableness is so beautiful. I think I get more out of reading books. And also I do want to point out the historical relevance of reading books, right? Like the old school monks were they're the ones who handwrote all these books early on in history. There was definitely different styles of sharing information and reading throughout history before that, like thousands of years. I mean, people had languages and were writing stuff, like the Egyptians and the papyrus. Like there was ways of sharing information. And I just think there's something so great. And then the Gutenberg press really started to mass produce books and more people could have access to them. I mean, reading is another thing, just being able to do that. But there's such a beauty in that whole form that I think for me, just reading a book is just, it's a part of this historical gift that we've been given for centuries, and it's just like a really great thing. And I always feel such a great sense of accomplishment when I read a book. You know, to have the concentration and the focus to complete the book is just so gratifying. I really, really am proud of myself. The faster you can read a book is great. It is better to read very more frequently because you tend to remember everything about the story, but it can be a chore. And I do think it's a skill set, but it's something to be so proud of yourself about. So I hope my passion and enthusiasm about reading books encourages you guys to read books. Now, audiobooks. I do really like audiobooks. Now, it took me a longer time to get into audiobooks because, well, my mom like always listened to books on tape as a kid, and I always thought the narrators were super boring, so it just seemed kind of dry. But I will say there's been a lot of improvements over the years, over the couple decades, that audiobooks are really great, especially the platforms available. Like, there's just a lot more accessibility to really good audiobooks out there. I used to also think that there was kind of cheating, and kind of, but not really, because I definitely, like, there's a hard, okay, I'll be honest, like, there's certain topics that are really hard for me to read on paper, like, especially when it's really complex information, it's nonfiction, and it's about certain maybe political things, societal things, scientific things that if I were to read this as a book, I might, more likely, I'm going to fall asleep on the page and never finish it. And then I'm going to break up my reading cycle. So audiobooks are fantastic, and I think the narration is a huge part of it too. When you've got good narrators, usually the authors I think are the best narrators, but there's definitely an art form to good narration that I do appreciate. I think Michelle Williams for The Woman in Me by Britney Spears is an example of really good narration. You know, she definitely took on more feeling and emotion as she read that story of somebody else. And that was great. You know, Anthony Bourdain, in Kitchen Confidential, that's chilling to hear his voice since he's passed, and it's such a great book to read. But then there's like other political health books and stuff like that that I think are just so worth listening to that I normally wouldn't read. And I'm able to re-listen to them. Like, I will listen to those books typically 2 to 3 times if it's really complex, so I can understand the complex information, the data, the analysis that goes into backing up their theories that I'm trying to understand, because, you know, not all of us are like doctors, and I do need to make sure I understand it. Plus, there's like a certain flow and timing, and that's the issue. When you can read a book, you can go back and take your time to read those things. But it is helpful to have somebody read it and kind of move you along so you can understand, like, oh, okay, because of this is together, and now I can understand what the result is. And this is why I'll reread these books too, because once I kind of understand what's going on, it's helpful for me to reread the beginning sometimes to really get the full scope. So, and I love that. Like, I get the audiobooks are great for if you don't have a lot of time to just sit down and read a book. It does take time to read. So listening to audiobooks are nice, especially when you, like, I don't have time, I have to drive somewhere, I can't read a book, but I have an hour drive ahead of me, I can listen to this book that I've been wanting to catch up on. And so you can still, you know, catch up, like, be on top of everything in finding these, kind of being more efficient, you know, with the time that you do have, and still being able to grasp these ideas that are out there circulating. So I think it's really beautiful. You know, I love it, like, you know, when I'm cleaning or I'm going for a walk, I love having my audiobooks. So I feel like I still feel smart. You know, I feel a little bit more distinguished. Like, I'm not just listening to music now. I mean, I love music, but it's like, but I'm going to listen about this scholarly topic on this interesting science thing. Like, I don't know, I'm sure I sound very scholarly just describing it, but I think it's a really great way to just keep expanding your knowledge base. So I do think both of them are really great. I like to have an audiobook that I'm listening to, maybe a couple, and still read a book at the same time. So I feel like I'm still, you know, I still have something I'm focusing on and learning, because I'm one of those people who just loves to consume information. I love to keep expanding my mind, and I just need somebody telling me about something always to help me kind of understand this crazy thing. And then, like, the world around us is kind of nuts. So any help, really, I'll take it. So anyways, I hope this just keeps you guys reading, listening, learning, growing, and just being awesome. So yeah, I do appreciate you guys listening to my rant, and I will see you the next time here. So all right, well, take care, guys.